This is our 15th annual Nonprofit Healthcare Investor Conference, and the overall goal of the meeting has always been to bring the capital markets community together with the nonprofit health system space. This year's theme in particular is building systems of care for greater value, and the focus is to talk about this concept of systems of care. I think in particular this year, each year we brainstorm with our co-sponsors at AHA and HFMA about what the relevant themes are in the industry, and the buzzwords kind of this year seem to be this concept of systems of care, expanding greater access, expanding points of care, the continuum, population health management, and all those kind of sub-themes related to that larger theme. As we've seen more organizations, I think, focused on the quality and patient safety, as they should, theme, I think we've definitely seen that come to the forefront. That was a specific theme for us probably 7 or 8 years ago, but I feel like that always underlies everything that we do. But with organizations out there like the Baldrige Award and Leapfrog and things like that, I think we are seeing much more of a focus. So even though it might not be the moniker, I think, on our conference this year, it's definitely an underlying concept that we want all of our systems to focus on.
Probably the biggest challenges we hear straight from the investors when we talk to them are really, there aren't a really defined set of metrics as there are for the typical financial analytics that there have been in the past, where one is looking at things like market share, et cetera, to assess how someone is actually prepared for the value base. There's two things that are important and critical as the transition is made from the more fee-for-service to the value-based type of model. The first is that you can actually get ahead of things, meaning if the financial incentives around the way you're getting paid for the treatment of care are not yet to the value-based, transitioning to a value-based system can actually have a negative financial effect. So it's much more difficult for investors to assess not only where does someone lie along the continuum of preparation, but does the actual system in their market match up with where they are along the continuum? Or in an interim period, could you actually be hurting yourself from a financial perspective if you're not being paid for value and you're actually transitioned there in the interim? That's the hardest balance that the investors, when you speak with them, are struggling with is, do you assess a blip in the interim and look at it as a temporary item or something that might be, more permanent or a longer type event? And that definitely affects the way investors view things because, I think everyone thinks about the payback of an investment as what people really focus on, but the fact is that investors are also affected by volatility. So if an off quarter or something like that has an effect, the investment world looks at it and you're holding that investment, everything's mark to market these days and it would actually drop in value, which affects fund performance and other things. So I do think that they look very carefully not only at where an organization is going to end up and how poised are they, but what might be the things that would help them in a more volatile market sort of even out those bumps along the way. Size and diversity of revenues in an organization help to smooth out those bumps of volatility. But that doesn't mean that a well-poised, smaller organization cannot be very successful in those interim stages, especially in smaller markets. So a very important factor would be the management team. I think investors look to see that the management team has a great understanding of where they stand in the market and that the management team is articulating to the investor community, here's why we're choosing to be this size at this point and why we think we'll be fine in the future as we maybe transition to a different size at a different point in time.
I think in terms of the range of our speakers, we don't necessarily always go after just the large or the highly rated systems. We're open to having really any forward-thinking management team that wants to come and present and wants to kind of increase their exposure to the investor community. So we've definitely had single-site providers, rural providers, the sub 1 billion in revenues, as well as BBB minus credits. So we would definitely welcome the diversity of presenters here. Anybody who's just looking to increase their communication with the investors and with other people looking to partner, I think. So whether or not you're a single site facility. We're seeing a lot more range of creative ways to get beyond, just your single community, but create some interesting joint ventures, some interesting management agreements, et cetera, as well as, we talked about quality, clinical affiliations, things like that, like Boca Raton Regional and North Shore LIJ, that sort of thing we're seeing a lot. So those community providers don't necessarily need to, feel like they need to be the large system provider, but as long as they're at the forefront of communication and delivering care to their communities, we definitely welcome them and would like to see them in the future.